It's 2 in the morning, you're almost asleep. And then, out of nowhere, your brain decides to replay that thing you said. Not today's thing, something from 9 years ago, a name you forgot at the worst moment, a joke that landed wrong, a wave at someone who was waving at the person behind you. And suddenly, you are wide awake, cringing in the dark, wondering why your own mind would do this to you. If that feels familiar, you should know 2 things. First, you are in the overwhelming majority. Surveys suggest around 90% of us get ambushed by these cringe memories. And second, your brain is not glitching. It is actually doing its job a little too well. Because that 2 a.m. replay is not random, and it is not punishment. It is a survival system running on a schedule. Let me show you what is actually happening up there, because once you see it, 3 a.m. stops having so much power over you, and you know exactly the ones I mean. It is never the big dramatic failures. It is the tiny, pointless moments. Saying you too when the waiter says, "Enjoy your meal." Rereading a text for typos after you have already sent it. Laughing half a second too loud at a joke you did not actually get. Going in for a handshake while they go in for a hug, and ending up somewhere in the middle. None of it mattered. Nobody else remembers a single one of them. And yet your brain keeps them filed, dated, and ready to screen at 2 in the morning like a private film festival of your worst 3 seconds. So why those? Why does your mind guard the most useless, most painful clips, and let almost everything else quietly dissolve? Start with why the memory even exists. Deep in your brain, there is a small almond-shaped alarm called the amygdala. Its entire job is to flag things that might be dangerous. And here is the catch. For a social animal like you, embarrassment is danger. For almost all of human history, being rejected by your group was not just awkward. It was a genuine threat to your survival. Alone, our ancestors did not last long. So your brain learned to treat a social mistake the way it treats a snake in the grass. That means when you do something socially risky, your amygdala slaps a giant "remember this" label on the moment. Stress chemicals flood in and basically burn it into storage in high definition. This is why you cannot remember what you had for lunch last Tuesday, but you can remember in 4K the exact feeling of calling your teacher "Mom" in 4th grade. Boring memories fade. Socially painful ones get saved with the sound, the lighting, and the full-body cringe still attached. You did not choose to keep that memory. Your brain decided it was too important to lose. Okay, so the memory is saved, loudly. But why does it come back at night, specifically? This is the part most people get wrong. During the day, your brain has a manager. The prefrontal cortex, right behind your forehead, is the calm adult in the room. It decides what you focus on, and it can quietly hold the amygdala back, like a steady hand on a barking dog. But that manager runs on energy and attention. And at night, lying still in the dark with nothing to do, 2 things happen at once. The manager powers down. The prefrontal cortex goes quiet when you finally relax, and a different network switches on. The default mode network, your brain's idle channel, the one that wanders and narrates when nothing else needs you. So now the manager is asleep, the wandering channel is live, and your amygdala finally has the floor. With no task to focus on, no conversation, no screen, it reaches for its loudest, best saved files, the embarrassing ones, and it presses play. There is nothing to drown it out, just you, the ceiling, and a memory you were sure you had buried. And then it loops. The amygdala fires. The wandering network spins it into a story. They probably still think about it. Everyone saw. You are just like this. Which makes the amygdala fire harder, which feeds the story, which fires the amygdala. That loop has a name: rumination. And it has no brakes, because the part of you that applies the brakes clocked out hours ago. Now here's the twist that almost nobody knows. Why so often around 3? Your body runs on a chemical clock. And somewhere around 2 to 3 a.m., it begins releasing cortisol, the wake-up hormone, to slowly prepare you for morning. Think of it as a tiny chemical sunrise, hours before the real one. That rise causes brief wake-ups in everyone. Most people surface for a second and roll back over. But if your amygdala is mid-replay when that cortisol arrives, it pours fuel on the fire. It takes a 1-second wake-up and flips it into a full, eyes-open, heart-pounding cringe session. So 3 a.m. is not cursed. It is simply the moment your stress chemistry starts to rise, while your mental brakes are still offline. Perfect timing for the worst possible thoughts. But stay with me, because this is where it gets almost beautiful. That same cortisol, the one that wakes you, does something else too. Newer research suggests the morning cortisol rise actually helps switch your prefrontal cortex back on and prepares the brain's machinery for letting memories go. In other words, the chemical that ambushes you at 3 a.m. is part of the very same system that helps you release the memory by 9. The replay and the recovery run on the same clock. The storm and the cleanup crew arrive in the same truck, which leads to the one thing I actually want you to take from this. At 3 a.m., your editor is offline. The part of your brain that judges, weighs, and calmly says, honestly, nobody else remembers that. It is not in the building. So whatever verdict you reach at 3 a.m., that you are humiliating, that everyone noticed, that it still matters, that verdict is being written by the alarm system alone, with no editor in the room. And an alarm with no editor is always wrong in the same direction. It only knows one word: danger. So nothing you conclude about yourself at 3 a.m. is trustworthy, because the part of you that tells the truth is asleep. So the next time your brain hands you a 9-year-old cringe at 2 in the morning, you do not have to argue with it. You do not have to win. You can just notice it. Ah, alarm is on. Editor is off. This is the 3 a.m. lie. You can let the memory be loud and still let it pass, because you know that by morning the same system that woke you will quietly help you set it down. Your brain is not broken. It is a social survival machine working overtime on a chemical schedule older than language. It keeps the cringe because 100,000 years ago, remembering your mistakes is exactly what kept you in the group, and in the group is what kept you alive. It is, in its own clumsy way, trying to protect you. If your brain replayed something embarrassing while you were watching this, congratulations, it is working perfectly. And if this made the 3 a.m. spiral make a little more sense, consider subscribing. That is the whole reason this channel exists. To make the strange things your mind does feel a little less strange. Sleep well, and whatever it tells you, do not trust the 3 a.m. verdict.